one daughter, one granddaughter, excuse me, grandson.
Good evening. This is the August 4th, 2021 Seminole County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. My name is Carissa Lawhon, Chairman of the P&Z Commission. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. All stand and face the flag, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This board is a 7-member board appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. Public hearing items acted upon by this board are referred to the Board of County Commissioners for further consideration. A quorum has been established to hold tonight's meeting. The board members present tonight include Commissioner Stephen Smith, Commissioner Richard German, Commissioner Dan Lopez, Commissioner Walter Grundorf, Commissioner Bob Turnage, and Commissioner Tim Smith. Staff present tonight are Rebecca Hammock, Director of Development Services, Mary Moskowitz, Planning and Development Manager, Paul Chipak, Deputy County Attorney, Bill White, Professional Engineer, Development Review, Joy Giles, Senior Planner, Dagmarie Segara, Senior Planner, and Tammy Brushwood, Clerk to the P&Z Board. Tonight's meeting will be conducted as follows. If an audience member would like to comment on an item, please make sure you fill out a comment card located in the foyer and give it to the clerk. Staff will introduce each item. The applicant will then present the item. Audience members wishing to speak will be heard. The applicant will be given a chance for rebuttal if needed. Audience speakers should restrict comments to pertinent information pertaining to the item being heard. Audience participants will have 3 minutes to speak or 6 minutes if representing a group. When called, speakers should approach the microphone, provide their name and their address for the record. The board may ask questions of the speaker. After all speakers have been heard, public comment will be closed. Any items shown, such as videos, presentations, pictures, or maps, must be left with the clerk for the public record. Items shown from electronic devices not in paper form should be sent to the clerk for the record. A motion will be made and seconded. Board discussion may occur and will conclude with a vote. I will call the question to the board. How do you vote? Each member will respond with either yes or no. I will request a roll call vote for any split votes. The first item on the agenda tonight is accepting the proofs of publication. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And the motion carries. Next, we'll move to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and the minutes are approved. Moving on, item number 1. This is continued from the June 2nd meeting. It is the Palmetto Point rezone. Ms. Giles will be presenting.
Yes, good evening. Joy Giles, Senior Planner for the Planning and Development Division. The Palmetto Point rezone was presented to the board on June 2nd, requesting a rezone from R1A to R1A for a single-family subdivision on approximately 39 acres located on the east side of Sipes Avenue, south of East Lake Murray Boulevard. The purpose of the requested rezone is to amend the previously approved conditions of approval approved by the Board of County Commissioners in 2014. The primary amendment topic of discussion at the June 2nd meeting was the request by the applicant to improve Pine Way as their primary access point for the development in lieu of improving Sipes Avenue. So the item was tabled in order for the county to conduct a survey to determine just how much right-of-way is out there and what would be requested for the development to continue forward. So the county has conducted a study of the area and determined that the following right-of-way improvements would be required. And those improvements have been provided in an outline in the updated development order proposed by staff, which was distributed earlier via email, and also you should have a hard copy in front of you. So all the items that are highlighted in yellow are proposed by the staff, and staff would support the requested rezone with those following conditions of approval. And I can read those conditions for you. So staff would support the applicant's request to omit the requirement to widen Sipes Avenue with the following conditions. The developer must clear up the existing right-of-way by obtaining additional right-of-way along Pine Way from Brisson Avenue to the project entrance in such a manner as to be able to improve, widen, and resurface Pine Way with appropriate drainage piping, curbing, shoulders, etc., to county standard roadway. The details of the roadway section and improvements to be determined with the preliminary and final engineering plans. Condition 2, the developer must reconfigure the 90-degree curve as a three-way stop controlled standard T-section. The eastern leg of the intersection shall be the entrance to the proposed single-family development, and all additional right-of-way needed will be obtained by the developer. Safety improvements on Sipes Avenue at the approach of the reconfigured intersection will be required and determined with preliminary and final engineering plans. Staff supports the request to, omit the requirement of condition C from the original development order approved in 2014, which required a minimum of a 25-foot dedicated right-of-way along Sipes Avenue, with the following condition. The developer shall dedicate a minimum of 25 additional feet along Sipes Avenue for right-of-way along the frontage to accommodate sidewalk and drainage improvements. Let's see. Bear with me one second. I want to make sure I'm not missing any conditions of approval. No, so those were the 3 conditions of approval for the access of the development. So in order for staff to move forward with the supportive approval for the request, that's what we would require.
Questions of staff? Any? All right, is the applicant...
I have one question. Just technically, the developer is required to get from a county-approved road to another county-approved road, which Brisson is that correct? So they're accomplishing that. Is that right?
Well, if I could, Bill White, Public Works, I wanted to kind of clarify what was determined. So the county, the effort for us to do the survey along Pine Way to see what was out there, we have not completed that effort. But in talking with the developer has agreed that any areas of Pine Way that do not have the proper right-of-way, or at least the documentation that it is right-of-way, they have agreed that they will clear that up, whether they go get a quick claim deed or purchase, whatever that's going to take in order to have the right-of-way from Brisson, which is County Standard Road, all the way to the Sipes Pine Way 90-degree turn, which they are going to convert that into a T intersection. So all that any right-of-way that's needed, they have agreed that they will obtain.
Okay.
So we haven't made a determination that that's
But that wasn't
actually there.
exactly my question, but that helped. Thank you. What my question was, technically, all their requirement is to get county standard road to another county standard road, and you just said Brisson is, so they'd be qualified to move forward based on that, assuming that they got Pine all done properly.
Correct. That would meet the
That was
land
my
development
question.
code requirements,
All right.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff?
Yeah, I have one. Bill, where are they going to bring sewer and water into, from what direction would it come into this property from the city of Sanford?
Well, we haven't actually determined that. I mean, that's through the city of Sanford. I assume that it likely might come down Sipes Avenue, but that wasn't part of what we were looking at, that we'd handle that at final development stages and
All right.
stuff.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Good evening, Steve Coover, 230 North Park Avenue, Sanford, Florida. I'm here for the applicant. I want to thank staff for all their efforts the last 2 months. I think we've got some clarity now. We agree with the revisions to the staff's comments and to the development order, and I'm here to answer questions if you don't have any. I'd reserve a little time for rebuttal.
Questions of the applicant? No? Right, in that case, we'll move to public comment. Do you have some cards here from those who do not wish to speak? So I'll go ahead and pass those to members of the board. And we'll start with Michael Droz. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Michael Rose. I live at 2530 Pine Way.
Wait till you come up to the microphone here.
Hello, everybody. Hello, board. Hello, community. My name is Michael Droz. I live at 2530 Pine Way, and that is right on the corner of Briss and Pine Way there. It's really tight out there already. We got all that construction, a little too much, too soon, too fast. You don't have anything developed, fully completed yet. We're already selling homes out of the first subdivision that's done, you know, and we haven't developed the other subdivision on the other side of us yet. That's not complete yet. It's going a little too fast, too quick. If you want to put homes in down there, I like the first plan that was original, that kept the bigger homes out there, kept a little bit more money out there. You know, we're not here for low-income housing. You know, you're in the wrong territory for that. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you're going to do, you know. But I'm just saying that I live on Pine Way in Brisson, and the traffic right now is obese. You got to come out there at about 4 or 5 o'clock or 7, 8 o'clock with the buses out there and check out what's going on. There's not enough road, and there's too many people out there. Developing Pine Way, great and dandy. However, you'll probably just put more water on me. And that's exactly what you have done from the very beginning of this development. You've given me swamp. And that's about all I got to say. Let's move on. Let's hear from some of the other fine neighbors in the community that have been there, established for years. Right, guys? Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Joanne Droz.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our grievances. We do appreciate this. My name is Joanne Droz, and I live at 2530 Pine Way. That's my better half over there that just spoke. And we have the same way of looking at this. Too much, too soon, too quick. Finish what you started first before you start something else. Now, you're talking about widening Pine Way. Where? There's no room. We're on the corner of Pine Way and Brisson. Our fence gets hit all the time with the big trucks going in and out, the dirt trucks with the fill dirt and everything else. I don't know where you're going to be putting it. We haven't heard anything about that. What about sidewalks? Are the sidewalks going to stop at Sipes, or are they going to continue down to Pine Way? It's dangerous out there. What about traffic lights? We've got so many cars coming and going, people leaving the brand new subdivisions they just put up, trying to get onto Lake Mary Boulevard. Are you just going to wait for somebody to get killed up there? There's already been accidents. We need traffic lights, and that's on the developer, not on us. That shouldn't be on us at all. You've talked about the Sipes curve. We're talking about the 1,500 square foot homes. No, come on, guys. That's a downgrade. You want affordable housing? Think about our crime in the area, okay? Think about what's going to happen to our property values, us people that have lived there for years and worked for these properties and loved our sanctuaries, and now you're just bombarding us. So, I mean, 21 foot is basically, from what I'm considering, a minimum. You put 1,500, you're going to be putting more houses per acre, no more 2.95. They're going to be putting more houses per acre, which is the bottom line, and that's what coats these people's pockets. We all know that. There's no way of getting around it. I believe the developer should be responsible for all of the funding, the traffic lights, the sidewalks, the roads, the waters, everything else. Like my husband said before, they tell you the drainage is okay, but we're swamped. And our homeowners insurance says we're not in a flood area. But I invite each and every one of you, when we get a little rain, drive by Pine Way and Brisson. We're the people with all the birds. And look at our flooding driveway. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. John Spolsky.
Good evening, my name is John Spolsky. I'm from 136 North High Street in Lake Mary, my residence. First off, I'd like to start out by talking about what occurred at the last meeting with staff was not in support of using Pine Way. They were in support of Sipes Avenue, as the previous county commission had ruled when the property was rezoned from agricultural to single family. Now they're talking about putting a T intersection at the intersection of Sipes and Pine Way, which is now a 90-degree turn. And based on the maps that I see, it looks like a T intersection would take it into a flood zone area. They've already admitted that you've got wetland areas there, endangered species, and floodplains out there. So they're talking about taking this T onto their property at that intersection. I don't understand. I've not seen their design or their engineering on that, but that doesn't make any sense to me. But that's down the list, if you will. The staff sits there and they talk about the 2014 development order, and what's interesting about it is they sit there and that development order, they talked about a minimum house size of 2,100 feet. They talked about utilizing Sipes as the main egress, which makes perfect sense. But yet, on this last recommendation from staff, they talk about reduction of the house sizes from 2,100 feet down to 1,500 feet, and then they talk about utilizing Pine Way instead of Sipes. The Board of County Commissioners in 2014 chose Sipes for a reason, and because it made sense. It's the shortest route from that property to Lake Mary Boulevard. And once you get the Publix built there at the intersection of 46 and Lake Mary Boulevard, once you get the development there, people from that neighborhood are going to naturally take the shortest route, which is Sipes to Lake Mary Boulevard. They are not going to take Pine Way to Brisson. I don't care if you paved it in gold. They are going to take the shortest route. And to think otherwise is preposterous. The one thing that I want to get to, as far as I know I'm only limited on a certain amount of time here, but when the staff proposal, when they talked about densities there, the one thing that they didn't overrule as far as on the county commission was in the joint development agreement with the city of Sanford. City of Sanford reduced the amount of houses there from 2.9 down to 2.25, but yet staff doesn't see that it's necessary to overrule county commission when it becomes more restrictive on the developer. All they want to do is make it easier on the developer. The thing that I would like to ask, and not during my time, but after everybody's spoken, is from your council there, as far as on the policy FLU 17.5, which talks about an issue not adversely affecting public safety. And that will be an adverse effect on public safety because people will be utilizing Sipes. There will be accidents there. Thank God that it hasn't occurred yet, but there will, with 2,000 cars a day being dumped onto that road. It is inevitable. With that road being utilized, let's pray there's not a fatality. But if there was, you knowing that cars are going to be using Sipes.
Mr. Spolsky, try to wrap up.
I will. I would like council's opinion after people speak as far as the county's liability to knowingly approve something that will not be used by the residents there, meaning Pine Way to Brisson, that people will be using Sipes, and there will be accidents that occur on that road if it is allowed to proceed as what staff is recommending. I wish I had more time, but
Thank you, sir.
hopefully the other residents will carry on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Diane Sorrell.
Hi, I'm Diane Sorrell. I live at 2980 Pine Way, right at the corner where they want to do their lovely three-way stop. Well, as it stands right now, my husband and I almost witness accidents all the time, and we have seen some there. And I don't understand with all this traffic coming down there, and school buses, school stops, and they're going to have three-way stops, that's not going to work in that area. I don't understand. And I just don't understand why they want to make homes smaller. All our houses there are much bigger than 1,500 square feet. And I really, when we first bought it, it was like, my husband goes, it's a little piece of heaven out in the country. That's been taken away from us. And it's just really sad. And they were doing some things across the street at the proposed land area, and we had a bunch of wild animals come to our yard, wild turkeys, which we haven't seen. They were all discombobulated, running around. I had to go on Pine Way so they wouldn't get hit by cars because somebody was making the move out of that section there. And the animals have a right to live too. And you're going to just make it like a real, I don't understand, like a just overcrowded, and it doesn't need to be. What's going on at Skyway with that new school? Someone said today there was such a long line. Where's all this traffic going to go? Don't you all care about people that have been established and have a life there and care about the animals? You know, they're going to be here too. And it just, putting smaller homes is just not adequate. It's just not adequate. I mean, we've been lied to, and somebody says, oh, there's not a lot of traffic on that road. I've got so much video on my camera I can't do anymore because we almost got hit by cars. My husband and I and another family were walking across from each other, and this big giant truck came flying by, and I asked him to slow down. He went faster. We need sidewalks there. You got to put sidewalks. You just can't develop these homes and just expect everybody to go on with their life. In my corner, I'm going to ruin all my privacy is going to be gone. We can't see anything right now, just cars going by a little bit in between the trees. And then I'm going to have more traffic coming by, and we're never going to get out of our driveway if you have a three-way stop. And I just feel like the rest of my neighbors were all getting like blindsided by all of this. 21 square feet, you know, 2,100 square feet is what they promised. And, you know, people, years ago, a gentleman's handshake sealed the deal. But I guess that doesn't happen anymore. We all know it's the almighty dollar. So I just hope you people think about us people, the animals, the traffic, that God forbid accidents. Just think. You just can't cram so much into one area. Please think about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mike Sorrell.
Good evening, and thanks for letting us speak. Back to the meeting 2 months ago, I thought one of the reasons you postponed it was because of the survey not being correct. Apparently, it's still upside down. We haven't figured all that out yet, which is disturbing to me. I brought my survey, and I can see why, because half my property is in that curve that you're talking about. Anyway, that's another story. I don't understand how you're going to put a three-way stop there and handle bus traffic and handle kids getting on and off the bus. These people are impatient as it is now. You heard my wife. We walk and these cars just speed up. They don't even move over. And there's nothing coming. Now, you know, you get cars, but they're not like back to back and on both sides of the road. So there's plenty of room to move over. They don't move over. We're walking on the grass. We got to jump into the high grass since there's only a minimum sidewalk in front of Wyndham Pine Way, the latest subdivision out there. That I don't know how they got that or why they got that, because it's like 300 feet of nothing, sidewalk that goes nowhere. Anyway, I just wish you guys would go back to the original plan. I don't know if there's been a 1,500 square foot home built in Seminole County in the last few months or years. That's ridiculous. No one builds them that small anymore. I don't know why 1,100's even on the books, but that'll be their next directive, is to get down to 1,100, which is ridiculous. So I think you guys should go back to the original agreement with when you changed it back in 2014. I also heard from the last time we were here that part of the conditions for Kensington and Wyndham were that none of those subdivisions would dump traffic out onto Pine Way. Now you want to put this whole subdivision on Pine Way, right on the corner, a ridiculous corner if you guys get out there. Stand out there. Trucks come by tooting the horn when they go around the corner now. I don't know how a three-way stop is going to do any of that. I would like to yield my last minute to Mr. Spolsky if he has more time.
Basically, this boils down to quality of life in Seminole County. I've lived here for over 61 years, and I've seen how the quality of life has degraded because too often I think what people are looking at is what they can do to put in the tax coffers as far as instead of it being property that had cattle on there that was really non-revenue producing. I get it. I understand as far as you got to work on an operating budget. But here's what I say. As far as whenever you're making a decision, if it's the quality of life versus the quantity that goes into the coffers, people deserve to be looked at after as far as the citizens who have been here, as far as what their quality of life is, what it is in the past and what it is moving forward, and not just continually bending the rules to sit there and add more money into your coffers.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sharice Youngblood.
Good evening. My name is Sharice Youngblood. I live at 2960 Pine Way. I have been directly impacted, my husband and I, and our property from the previous development right to the right side of Wyndham. And I can tell you from years of experience with this developer, they are very quick to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. We were told at the beginning of that whole subdivision development that they were going to come through our front yard and put in a drainage pipe then. We brought up drainage pipes. We asked that they did not destroy any of the trees as it was a beautiful canopy over our road. We came home, the trees were gone. They were just gone. They're like, oh, sorry. They had to go anyway. They were going to fall if we disrupted the roots and whatnot. 3 minutes would never give me enough time to tell you guys the amount of destruction they've done to our property. We have absolutely no privacy on the right side. They swore they wouldn't take those trees. Those trees are gone. When you start talking about traffic issues, my husband was in a traffic accident on Brisson and Lake Mary Boulevard due to all the traffic that's there now, and he totaled his truck. Our lives are in danger in that aspect. The traffic is a huge concern for us. And when you discuss going down Pine Way directly, being that we are on it, being somebody that looks at it every day, I don't see the amount of space that you would be able to widen this road. And if you're talking about, the developer going and trying to purchase property from us, I can tell you today, we are not for sale. We will not deal with the developer any longer based off of the lies and what we've dealt with in the past, and we will never sell an inch of our property to further develop. I'd like to yield the rest of my time to Mr. Spolsky.
No, we're not going to do that. We've heard from him. Linda Barker. Give an inch, right?
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioner. Anyhow, my name is Linda Barker, 3405 South Melville Avenue. I would just like to state that there was a commitment on July 2nd, 2014, in order to make concessions to the applicant's request from Ag Suburban Estates to R1A, that the applicant must maintain 2,100 square feet, put in sidewalks, improve easements, put in a substantial masonry wall. If the entrance to Pine Way is shifted, you'll be adding the burden to Seminole County Road Maintenance to not only maintain a much-traveled road, but the county will be forced to widen the road, include well-needed sidewalks. Why should we, the taxpayers, have to invest our money when the developer isn't willing to do what they agreed upon in the beginning? I am very familiar what it's like to live on Mile Road where traffic is unimpeded. If Sipes' extended Pine will become a drag strip. Sipes will become a drag strip because they're going to have to travel the entire length to get down to the entrance. And in addition, if you shift it to Pine, you're going to have all down at the end of Sipes, you're going to have all the people are coming from East Lake Boulevard. They're going to come to Sanford Avenue. They're going to turn right. They're going to turn left on Pine to avoid all the traffic lights that are going to be eventually placed on East Lake Mary Boulevard. And that is a 2-mile unimpeded stretch. And I would also like to say that I was looking at the notes for 2014. The applicants were citing that is very low land. And also the plethora of telephone poles are on the side. It's just would be, of sites, it would just be a nightmare if that whole road issue isn't addressed. Also, Seminole County, tomorrow David Nelson, who has East Lake Mary Small Area Study, has concluded that whole area, Pine and South, is environmentally, should be protected. And I went to a CAT meeting where the Seminole County wanted to purchase 12 acres on the south side of Pine because they need to mitigate the disastrous development on Brisson because everything is flooding people on the south of Pine. And we committed 2 things. One, that the people who have suburban estates on Pine Way, south of that, would not be affected by the development north. And that none of those developments would empty out into Pine, like on Brisson. So we would be going against what we promised. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Cindy Holler.
Good evening, Chairwoman, Law and Planning and Zoning Board. Cindy Holler, 1731 Beacon Drive, Sanford, Florida, of course. So I'm involved with a group of citizens who care deeply about this county, consider ourselves smart development people. This is not smart development. I'm opposed. Needs to be the original plan, larger lots, it's what's appropriate here. Unfortunately, developers put profit over quality of life, traffic, flooding, dangerous to life and limb. So we heard from the one lady who spoke about she's not going to sell to the developer. So question, what if the developer cannot purchase the property needed? And I'll just leave you with that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. With that, we'll close public comment. Do you have someone else for this item, Tammy? Okay.
Did I say one thing you're not allowed anything
Did you submit a comment card, ma'am? Okay, if you want to fill one out, then you'll be allowed to come up and speak. All right. Dr. Beverly Booth? Did I read that right?
Hi, my name is Beverly Baird Booth, and Commissioners, I would like to oppose. Obviously, those of us who live in that region, and I don't know how often each of you makes a trip through that area. If you do, you would understand what we are facing. Recently, as an example, I returned home from Orlando, coming on 417, trying to exit, coming down Lake Mary Boulevard, progressing east. And all of you know, there have been hundreds of houses that have been placed there. Beautiful as they may be, they have encroached upon many of us as far as our lifestyles. Anybody who tries to leave, exit on those roadways, know how somehow, somewhere, there was a disregard for infrastructure, for roadways, for movement. I only plead for those poor people who live in those beautiful new homes with zero property lines, flooding, and wall-to-wall traffic. This is what we will be facing if in fact you come. So from a global picture, not just Sipes and not just Pineway, because all of us know the beauty of Pineway, what it was supposed to be. We realize progress happens. We realize the developer wants to make the best and highest use of his land. But at the same time, there are hundreds, not just one development, hundreds of us who live there, who dwell there, and we need your understanding of what you must do tonight, which is to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wafa Esposito?
Wafa Esposito, 5040 Hawks Hammock Way. This is not anything I can't add any more to what you have heard. The concerns are the traffic and mainly the flooding that people are starting to be concerned about and suffer. This is will result on the county side of having to buy land for mitigation. I think the lesson that the county is going through right now on Orange Boulevard, having to buy so much land for mitigation, that will be repeated itself. And I'm wondering if that cannot be slowed down in order to allow all that excessive water that being pressured to go naturally by reducing the number of units. And that would also reduce services and traffic. Please consider and think. Have a nice day.
Georgianne Harmon.
I'm Georgianne Harmon. I live at 3257 East Lake Mary Boulevard, right across from the ball fields. I think something we're all missing is that everybody that lives out there bought this property because they wanted to be out of major neighborhoods, away from major traffic. When I bought, I was on a little 2-lane dirt road that ended at the end of my property. Now I'm on a 4-lane highway. I used to ride horses in all the orange groves where the ball fields are. I used to ride over there. There is no way for me to even get a horse now from my property over to the preserve over on Cameron, because I'm not going to go down a 4-lane highway with probably a 10-foot ditch on my side. I think I lived over in Rolling Hills before I bought my property in 1995. I left a neighborhood because I wanted out in the country to have my animals. Now I'm being swamped by traffic. I can't even get out of my driveway from about 6 to 8 in the morning to go west down toward Sanford. In the afternoon, we can't get out to go east because of all the people coming back headed toward Deltona. Much less try to get a horse trailer across a 4-lane highway when there is no large medium to park to try and get across. But I bought because I left a neighborhood, I wanted out in the country, that's what I had, and now the city has came. And yes, I would sell my property. Everybody's hitting me up to buy my property. But I can't go anywhere till I have money in hand, and the developers want to wait 14 to 18 months to give you money, and then they want you off the property within 3 days after closing. So anyway, I just think people are missing that most of us moved out there to get away from what is coming now. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Van Kasteren.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am speaking on behalf of Bobby Wells, who lives on Pine, and I board my horse on his property. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Halifax and Ormond. There's a street there that was...
Can you give us your address for the record, though?
Oh, I'm at 218 West Sanford Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
I just said that wrong. Anyway, I've been horse riding out here for over 20 years as well. This was a gorgeous street years ago, the canopy of trees everywhere. The developers came in, Bobby as well was lied to. They were told he would have a pond in front of his house. He now has a 2-story home blocking his view. There's no view there anymore. The neighbors try to walk. Everybody comes by to see my horse. There's not room to walk anymore. I mean, and like the other lady said, you can't ride your horse down the street. It's too dangerous. And we used to all ride there for many years. So we just wanted to say we were opposed to it as well.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we'll close public comment. Would the applicant like a chance to rebut?
Would anyone on the commission like me to address anything? Thank you.
All right, move to board questions, discussion, motion.
So I drove over there several times. There's no way anybody coming out of that neighborhood is going to go down Pine to Grissom unless they're heading towards something. They're going to turn up Sipes Avenue. I mean, it's such a shorter drive. And the traffic there at the intersection of both of those is going to be tremendous. But Sipes Avenue is going to be the road, and I think that's why the county commission originally said that they had to develop that, because that was the intent. And, I mean, you can physically drive from Pine to Grissom to Lake Mary Boulevard, but it's double the distance. And I don't see why you would. So I don't know why we would go against the original plan of Sipes Avenue just because they can possibly get, their buildings built. I think they need to still approach the Sipes Avenue and see if they can get that approved. But I think we're supposed to approve or decline what they're asking us right now. And it's Pine Way to Grissom. Is it possible to do that? Yes, you can do that. But it's not going to be logical.
Okay, any other board discussion?
Yeah, Bill, what exactly, what would the developer have to acquire for right-of-way on either Pine Way or Sipes to accomplish what they're trying to do? How much right-of-way do they have to acquire?
Well, I don't know that I can answer that completely because we don't yet know. We had put out a contract in order to determine what we actually had on Sipes, and we had some issues with the contract or the surveyor that we're utilizing timing-wise.
That's amazing.
To have that available by now.
Yeah.
On Pine Way, we've definitely identified a portion that's right at Brisson. So there's some right-of-way that's missing at Brisson that the developer, is just basically has indicated that they will provide it, or they have been in talks. But at the end of the day, they just need, what we presented here was that they would obtain it. So we know of that piece, and there's some uncleared up areas a little bit on the south side that they would have to clear up, whether it be through quitclaim or some other manner. And then I want to say at the corner of Sipes and Pine Way, there still is some area there that would have to get cleared up by the developer. And they would have to provide that documentation to us and show that they have that.
So basically it boils down to if they can't acquire the right-of-way, the development isn't going to happen anyway, whether it's approved here tonight or not.
Correct.
Okay.
Just so the board understands, this property was zoned originally in 2014. The developer's not asking to turn this into a PD or anything else, so he has entitlements under the R1A zoning to do something here, and it's not a question of whether we can prohibit what he's doing. It's a question of, approving the few items that he asked for, for his final development order. I looked at the property maps, and really there's maybe a couple property owners down there's too many up Sipes that he probably will never be able to get all the right-of-way, so that's going to become a county problem because that developer doesn't have condemnation rights, obviously. And the county's actually getting a better deal in a way because there's going to be more road improved down Pine Way to Brisson in more length, if you will, than going north on Sipes. So, you know, hey, it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. And again, there's property rights here that go back to 2014 zoning. So again, not asking for PD or anything special like that. And just a couple things. I mean, minimum lot size here, 75 feet. In this market, there's no such thing as low-income housing. If anybody believes that on a 75-foot lot there's going to be low-income housing here, it's going to in for a surprise. Chances are the houses here will be more than everything around it. And he would have, if he just went to this normal zoning, he could have 1,100 feet. That's minimum size on the R1A zoning. So that's all. It's not perfect, but it's, you know.
Am I hearing a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion. I'll recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from R1A single-family dwelling to R1A single-family dwelling and approve the associated development order proposed by the applicant on approximately 39.29 acres located on the east side of Sipes, approximately 1/4 mile south of East Lake Mary Boulevard.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, point of clarification, are you recommending approval of the DO by the applicant or by staff?
The applicant.
By the staff, I'm sorry.
Oh, you.
Yeah, the staff. I mean, the revised,
The revised DO that was...
yes, the revised DO.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Great. Then do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. So do we need to do a split out for that, Tammy, or a roll call? Okay. Okay, very good. Then in that case, we'll move on to item number 2. Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Introduction Element, and Property Rights Element. Ms. Segarra will be presenting.
Good evening, everyone. Dagmar Segarra, Senior Planner. Got item number 2. Sorry. And item number 2 is to consider an ordinance amendment the text of the introduction element of the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan to revise the definition of net buildable acre and creating a separate property rights element of the comprehensive plan in accordance to mandates set forth in Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. So we got 2 proposed amendments. The first one is an amendment to the existing introduction element of the comprehensive plan. In 2014, the county adopted ordinance 2014-46, amending the introduction ordinance to include a revision to the definition of the buildable acre. At the request of the BCC, or the Board of County Commissioners, staff proposed the revised definition in order to encourage redevelopment within the urban service area for the infill properties and to support more transportation and to support the child how we grow in the Central Florida area. So the existing definition, we have 2 separate definitions, one for the urban service area and one for the East Rural area. The urban service area definition is the total number of acres within the boundary of a development, excluding natural lakes and wetlands or flood-prone areas. And in the East Rural area, the definition is the total number of acres within the boundary of a development, excluding areas devoted to right-of-ways, easements, lakes, wetlands, or flood-prone areas. At the request of the Board of County Commissioners, it was requested to the staff to revise that definition to be to the following proposed definition, that the net buildable acre is defined as the total number of acres within the boundary of a development, excluding areas devoted for road right-of-ways, transmission of power lines, easement, natural lakes, and wetlands or floodplain-prone areas. In addition to those amendments, there is going to be some consistency amendment that will exclude properties that were developed between December 2014 and August 24, 2021, which is the new buildable acreage area has been adopted, so they will follow the old definition. So basically, we're going to define buildable acreage now as is currently defined in the rural area. That's the bottom line. The second amendment to the comprehensive plan is creating a property rights element. Currently, our comp plan does have provisions that pertains to property rights on our future land use element. Those provisions are in Objective 17 of the future land use element, which creates procedures for property rights, dispute resolution, and adult uses. And the criteria provided for the new bill by House Bill 59 will be in addition to those existing language that is already in our comprehensive plan. Right now, the bill requires that the county adopts a separate element for property rights, and that's why we cannot amend just the future land use element. We have to create a separate element. And this element it has 4 criteria that is being stated on the bill, which is the right of the property owner to physically possess and control his or her interest in the property, including easements, leases, and mineral rights. The right to use, maintain, develop, and improve his or her property for personal use or the use of any other person subject to the state law and local ordinances. The right to privacy and to exclude others from the property to protect owners' possessions and property, and the right to dispose of his or her property through sales or gift. So right now, staff is proposing to adopt the language that was created in House Bill 59, creating this element, meeting with the statute, and later on, when we do the EAR, which is the evaluation appraisal report, then we're going to amend the future land use element to take the language that we currently have, combine it with the property rights element, and create a proper element that will suffice and meet the policies of the county. So we're just doing this because it needs to be done in order for us to keep proposing or proceeding with future land use amendments for the rest of the year. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have some additional comments, but I'd like to just ask you one question. Give me the definition of flood-prone areas.
Flood-prone areas are areas underwater, I believe, that are not buildable.
Yeah, that is in the comp plan. I believe it's areas within the 100-year floodplain.
But if it's in the 100-year and I can Lomar it out, which is I fill it, that area, and compensate it somewhere else, and I fill it,
Yes.
then I could actually
Yes.
take it out of the flood prone. So then, if I plan on doing that, I'm being penalized then because I start out in the flood prone area.
It would be your post-development.
That you calculate the density of
Yes.
post-development. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
All right.
Great. Any other questions of staff?
Yes, ma'am. So exactly what are you recommending in regard to the property rights elements? This is going into law or into amendment?
This will be we are creating a new element into the comprehensive plan according to the recently adopted bill by the legislature, and this is to meet the criteria of the bill.
So Myself, if I'm just a property owner, how does that protect me? What actions do I get to take to protect my property rights?
The property rights element, what the bill wants to achieve is that when we make decisions when it comes to like future land use amendments, we have to make an analysis based on the 4 criteria that were established on the bill. And in order for that to happen, the legislative made the decision that this has to be done as a separate element and not part of just the comp plan.
So, for instance, if St. John's River decided to come in and meter wells, under this, they wouldn't be able to put a meter on anybody's well.
Well, I mean, it just says that it's just to protect the property.
Well, I mean, yeah, because the mineral, what is considered a mineral, so I would be able to use my water free of any meter, which was talked about at one time by the state. Okay, that's great. I appreciate it.
Okay, other questions of staff?
Thank you.
I have comments when you're ready.
We can move to comments.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Let me start out by saying I'm opposed to this, at least opposed to some of the language that has been provided. First of all, we did a mobility fee sometime back, and the mobility fee was trying to encourage higher density in urban areas and urban service areas, if I'm not mistaken. Now you look at this and what they've done here, they've added as an area that can't be counted anymore is rights-of-way. Well, I consider, first of all, right-of-way as a developable area, not a non-developable or undevelopable area. And let's talk about what that does by adding that language in there where right-of-ways, you lose the right-of-way calculation to get your density. Let's say that, and we have a lot of small developments now trying to go on in this county because that's a lot of what's left, nothing big. So let's say I have 40 acres of land, or I'm sorry, 10 acres of land, and it's all buildable, if you will, no wetlands, nothing, it's all buildable. So technically, I could say I can get 40 units. If I have 4 per acre, I could get 40 units on there. If I take the right-of-way consideration, that's normally about 15% of a development like this. So that means now I take that and I can only get 34 units instead of 40. So I've lost density, I've lost value for no other reason than somebody's just trying to say, let's cut the density of the county. Yet I've lost my property rights. I've gotten beat up here by losing values. Let's look at an apartment site. Apartment sites, if you count parking areas and things like that, which is really considered right-of-ways or movements, they could lose 20%, okay, of their acreage, and obviously then lose that much in density. So I don't know why the county's proposing, or why the commission, somebody on the commission's proposing this, but I think the way it was, without right-of-way being included, and just the transmission, power lines, natural waters, wetlands, and so forth, that's appropriate, but not adding the words right-of-way. So that's why I'm opposed to the way they've presented this ordinance.
Zachary, I have the same question. Why is this being proposed? What's the intent here?
I believe Mary can answer that question better. I know that there was a report that she provided to the Board of County Commissioners in regards to this.
Yes, at the request of the Board of County Commissioners, they asked us to look at the net buildable density. So in 2014, the definition was changed to exclude the right-of-way. Since that time, we have been tracking the entitlements, that the development that has been built on that. There has been about 15 to 20% increase in the number of units that have been built if you go by the old definition or now the new proposed definition versus the existing definition. So the commission, after that discussion, requested staff to develop this ordinance for the right-of-way, to amend it back to the old definition. And then, in addition, the second part of this is the requirement by the state for the property rights. So we bundled the two together.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how it increases it.
Were you able to hear that? I know I was a little quiet there, so, okay.
So before we go further with discussion and comments, I just realized I missed public comment. Did you have any comment cards? Anybody wanted to speak for or against this item?
One, Cindy Waller. Cindy Waller on 3 as well.
This is for 3. That's fine. She filled out 2. I believe she filled out 2.
Okay, I have 2 in favor. The item, we'll do Watha Esposito. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I have,
That's for item 3. One of them.
but I have only 1 then, in this case, right? 1 for the
That's all
set?
I had, yes.
Okay, Cindy Holler.
Thanks. City Holler, 1731 Beacon Drive, Sanford. So I really appreciate all of staff's work on the net buildable definition, and I wanted to go back to the old definition. I want as much open space as possible. Turn around the sign, Seminole County Florida's natural choice. It's not to squish as much density as possible into the remaining county and cause traffic accidents by motor vehicle to animals, wildlife, and to our residents, and flooding issues. And also with the property rights, I'd like, we want to keep that in mind, that we want to, the local, our county, to support the land development code that the county has envisioned for Seminole County, and also not forget about the rights of our existing residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wafa Esposito, 5040 Hugs Hammock. My understanding that in the right way, the 15% are also the sidewalks. So I think that's appropriate. Communities with sidewalks and hopefully some small shade trees should be the trend. I live in a community that do not have the shade trees, so the sidewalks are obsolete. So that's something, if that brings back those sidewalks and have the allowance for that, then going back to the 2014 would be the greatest thing. I believe the water retaining ponds, when they are recalled for in the communities, those should not be behind a few houses to create them to be exclusive to few, but if they are considered as amenity, they should be accessible to the whole community. So I'm just, giving my 2 cents here. Thank you.
All right, with that, we
So I'm
can,
in support of the change to the 2000.
we'll return to our board discussion.
Just so we understand, the right-of-way factor that she talked about affecting society, none of that has anything to do with this. A right-of-way area is, let's say a normal subdivision is 50 feet wide, which includes sidewalks, utility easements, and the road itself. Okay, so you got a 50-foot right-of-way throughout the subdivision, you calculate that, and that's what we're talking about here, whether you can get density to it or not, and again, it's probably 15% or so of the developable land, and you lose that. And I just don't think that's appropriate to do that to people at this point in time.
Well, this would not change in the rural areas, it would just change in the urban areas.
Well, they've changed it for everything.
The rule stays the same.
The wording is the same.
Oh, the rule's the same, I'm sorry.
For the urban.
Right. But the urban area, which is, I thought they were encouraging more density in some urban areas.
where the infill.
This ain't gonna help it. It's hurt.
Right, well, you're right.
So would in fact parking lot be part of this calculation?
Well, that's another good question. I don't know.
That's huge.
Mary?
Private parking lot would not be part of the calculation, but if it was a public dedicated right-of-way. So it depends on how it's developed. But Commissioner German's right, it's about 15 to 20% of a development is dedicated to the road infrastructure.
So if I had a subdivision with a private road, it would not be part of this calculation?
The road easement, so if it was built to county standards, then so it's all excluded right now. So the way it's written now, not, that would be excluded from your development. You got 10 acres, you got 10 acres. But, so the way it is written, yes, so a private easement would also count as a road.
You lose it.
So that means if I had 10 acres and I wanted to divide it into 2 5s, which would be minimum requirement, and I had to put a road in, I no longer would have 5 acres. And
Correct,
could not
yes,
subdivide.
correct. And we've seen recent examples
I
of
have a
that.
problem with that, yeah. Because now I've reduced my 10 acres to 9.5 or whatever, and I no longer can split that because I can't split it into 5-acre parcels.
Or you'd be here asking for an exemption.
Which just gives us more work to do.
Look, I think this is nothing but a political statement by somebody that says, I'm going to find ways to cut the density.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a problem with that, especially that road could make that little right of way can make a huge difference in whether you have the right to divide the property or not. So,
So, sounds like you have a motion.
yeah, I do. Let me find it. Where is my?
Commissioner, if I may add, you can make the recommendation to move forward with the property rights element. I make a recommendation because we really need to have that passed.
If I may chime in.
Okay. So I am going to make a
Hey, Steve,
motion.
I think Paul wanted to say something.
Paul, go ahead.
For the record, Paul Chipok, Deputy County Attorney. With the property rights, the House Bill 59 was passed by the legislature this last year, and it gives, I think, by the statute itself, 2 years for these to be rolled into people's comprehensive plans. However, there's been an advisory opinion from the Department of Economic Opportunity that said that they are not going to be processing any land development applications, comprehensive plan amendment changes, unless the property rights element has been established in that jurisdiction. So they're forcing our hand a little bit to move quickly on that.
So I can make a motion to
Deny Exhibit A and approve Exhibit B.
deny and approve the comprehensive
There you go.
text amendment property rights element.
Yes.
Okay, do I have to get more specific on that? So I'm going to make a motion to approve the comprehensive text amendment property rights element in accordance with the mandate set forth in Chapter 163 of Florida statute and recently approved House Bill 59. Local municipalities are required to include a property rights element to the local comprehensive plan by the next proposed plan amendment initiated after July 1st, 2021.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay. I oppose.
Nay.
Nay, sorry.
Okay.
All right, I'll make another motion, then I'll recommend to the Board of County
Whoa, but that passed.
No, he only passed the
I'm sorry.
property rights
Yeah,
element.
that was wrong.
So I'd like to make a motion to recommend the Board of
So
County
did you,
Commissioners.
did you understand then?
I'm sorry.
This was,
So that was just for property rights?
That was just
I
property.
would amend my vote, please.
To, yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Bob.
I'm trying to pay attention.
Okay.
So I guess I know how you're going to vote here, okay.
Yeah, pretty
I recommend the Board of County Commissioners deny the transmittal of the proposed ordinance enacting comprehensive plan text amendments to the introduction element revising the definition of net buildable acres, period.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. We've got it
I
now.
think I got it this time.
Okay. With that, we can move on to item number 3, special exceptions amendment to the Land Development Code, and Mary Moskowitz will be presenting.
Good evening. For the record, Mary Moskowitz, Planning and Development Services. This item is to consider an ordinance amending the procedures for processing special exceptions in the Land Development Code for a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission and a determination by the Board of County Commission. Special exceptions are uses that are permitted within a particular zoning district if a board has determined that they meet specific criteria. Examples of special exceptions include allowing a middle and high school in a residential zoning district, hospitals and nursing homes in the C1 retail commercial district, or allowing a monopole communication tower over 140 feet tall in the M1A light industrial district. Currently, the determination is made by the Board of Adjustments. A staff conducted a survey of surrounding jurisdictions and found that a majority of jurisdictions process special exceptions through a review hearing and recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission and final determination by a council or commission. On April 13th, at the Board of County Commission workshop, the BCC directed staff to move forward with an ordinance amending the Land Development Code for special exceptions to allow for review by the P&Z and review and recommendation by the P&Z with final approval by the BCC. The intent to amend the Land Development Code has been discussed with the Board of Adjustments, and they have no objections to the proposed amendment. And just for your information, in 2020, 2019, and 2018, we received 10 special exception applications. So far in 2021, we have received 6. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners, staff recommends that the P&Z recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance amending the procedures for processing special exceptions in the Seminole County Land Development Code by recommendation for the P&Z and determination by the Board of County Commissioners. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, questions of staff?
Was somebody got mad at somebody on the Board of Adjustments, or what?
No, I just think it's more in line with what other jurisdictions do. If you really look at it, a special exception is more akin to a rezoning type action, which tends to be more of the purview of a Planning and Zoning Commission as opposed to a Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
I did, Paul, talk to Bernard Johns, I believe he's chairman of the BOA, and they're okay with this. They didn't ask for it. But the question I have is...
It's more work for us, though. But
well, it is double, because the Board of Adjustments make a decision. We're not the decision-making, so we have to consider it a vote, and then it goes to the Board of County Commissioners who make another vote. So he suggested, why can't the Planning and Zoning Committee make the decision, and then any appeals go to the BCC?
So the way that it is written right now, the Board of Adjustments does make the final decision, and it can be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. Again, when looking at how other jurisdictions handle the matter, it is done the same way as a rezone, where either P&Z or LPA makes a recommendation, and the final authority goes to the Board of Adjustments. If that is your recommendation, that's your purview, and you can certainly make that recommendation.
If we're going to add to our workload, why not make it final?
Because there's a desire for more control somewhere else, so...
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Not only that...
Let's kick it to the BCC.
Not only that, if we become a final decision-making body, that changes the body. Does it not, Paul?
Well, it changes the nature, but again, from a conflict reporting standpoint and conflict of interest standpoint, it will not, because the Planning and Zoning Commission is treated as a final decision-making body, even though it is technically not.
Okay. Bob, I don't disagree with you, Bob, but you're going to lose the argument upstairs, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Okay. Well, let's just skip P&Z and send it to BCC.
Okay, not so political tonight, guys.
Thank you, Mary.
We didn't have, the only card I had was no comment, we're passing it around to read. So then with that, can we move to board discussion?
I believe that was in support.
It was, correct.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I got, if you guys could turn to page 4 of the ordinance, proposed ordinance.
The actual ordinance itself?
Yeah, or the one that is in your packet there.
Okay, yeah.
Down at the bottom of the page where it's A, you see where that A, large A? If you read that, it's not detrimental. This is how you make a final determination. It is not detrimental to the character of the area or neighborhood or inconsistent with trends of development in the area, and let's read B, does not have an unduly adverse effect on existing traffic pattern, movements, and volumes. I think both of those comments are extremely arbitrary. I mean, how do you determine, who's going to, I guess, well, I don't like the looks of it, so it must be detrimental to the character. I'm not a traffic engineer, but people got up here and said, well, there's too much traffic, so I guess I'm going to turn it down because it's too much traffic. So I don't mind this ordinance, it doesn't bother me, except I just think those two items are awfully arbitrary.
Well, wouldn't you think that the staff would probably make recommendations prior to that, wouldn't they?
Pardon me?
Prior to this coming to us, staff would make recommendations to the traffic patterns and the issues and concerns.
I would hope so, but sometimes it gives people an excuse to blow something up when they don't really have anything to hang their hat.
Agreed.
And we rely on staff to sort of get that sorted out before it comes in front of us as far as traffic patterns.
Yeah, I will say that the way it is, this language that you're reading is the existing language. It's just underlined because it was moved from one section to another.
But it's a good time to change it.
Absolutely, and it's, we are amending things, but the staff report, the way it is written, is that they do address each of these items, and will make the recommendation based on each of these items.
So we're going to see this again?
You will...
Not see.
Not the amendment itself, I hope not, but if this does pass, and if you see a special exception, the way the staff report will be written is that it will have these five elements and then a response to each of those.
Okay. Paul, did you write this ordinance pretty much?
I did review it. I don't recall whether it came from planning or our shop. But again, basically, it's just a movement of that section in the standards from the BOA to the Planning Commission.
I'm not opposed to the ordinance, it just seems, it provides too much arbitrary judgment on, that's all.
Well, I served on Board of Adjustment, and that's a big part of it.
Is arbitrary?
Arbitrary.
Okay, then I withdraw. Then I withdraw my comments.
Apparently, it worked well at BOA.
I'm withdrawing my comments.
Okay.
I'm going to make a recommendation. The Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance amending the procedures for processing for special exceptions in Seminole County Land Development Code for recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission and determined by the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, with that, the motion carries. Mary, do you have anything for us?
Just that for your next meeting, which will be in September, we will be doing a workshop for the proposed land development code ordinance. We've been currently working with a consultant on updating the land development code, and so we thought it would be a good opportunity to bring some of those changes to you all to take a look at and get your opinion on that. So
That'll be in addition to our regular meeting?
yes, and I believe it will be a very
Yeah, do we get paid
short.
overtime?
I believe it will be a very short agenda. So.
All right, thank you so much.
In that case, the meeting is adjourned.
Adjourned.